Hello and welcome to STH English. If you want to understand what the Pakistan military is thinking, do have a close look and read deeply into the press release that was issued at the end of the conference number 271, Corps Commanders Conference that was held at General Headquarters yesterday. The press conference is carefully crafted and it is minimalistic in terms of releasing information, but you have to understand the context and read between the lines. As long as the alignment of paragraphs are also in your view, you will be able to find what the thinking patterns that prevail in General Headquarters these days. Let me start with the first para. The first para invariably deals with India and links it up with the internal problems that India is trying to create for Pakistan. But the phraseology and the way Indian threat is defined is very interesting. Pakistan has been talking about the Indian hand in the internal expanding terrorist activities that Pakistan is faced with for a very long time. But this is the first time that a clear and unequivocal linkages are being established between what India is doing, the larger foreign and defense policy agenda, and the internal situation. So the Corps Commanders meeting is absolutely clear in saying that all the proxies that are involved in creating internal chaos are Indian proxies. And these proxies have gotten into the top gear because of the recent successes that Pakistan has had with regard to declared Indian aggression. And the forum suggests that in order to deal with this nexus, which it defines in two ways, one it calls fitna al-Khawarij and the other it defines as fitna al-Hindustan, meaning thereby that whatever India is doing from the eastern side is fitna al-Hindustan, and whatever India is promoting on the western side along Afghanistan border is fitna al-Khawarij. Whatever India is trying to do, we need to deal with it decisively at all levels by taking decisive and holistic actions, which essentially means that whole of nation and whole of institutions actions are required, and that doing this was always a priority, but now after India's outright aggression against Pakistan and the war scenario that has developed, this has become absolutely imperative. So the first para deals with India, what India is trying to do inside Pakistan and how it is linked with India's larger defense maneuver against Islamabad. The other is, the next para is very important, talks about Pakistan's diplomatic maneuver, how the Prime Minister visited several countries, Turkey included, and how the visitors also came to Pakistan, but then focuses considerable attention on the CUS's visit to US. And the press release calls it historic and unique. Historic and unique because many new things happened, many paths were broken, many new pathways were found, and it afforded, according to the press release, Pakistan the opportunity to push its point of view across to the top person in the US. Donald Trump is not named, but the press release talks about the top policymakers inside the US. And at three levels, Pakistan was able to get its point of view across. One is bilateral, the other is regional, and the third one is even more important. It's extra-regional. The Pakistan Army traditionally has avoided talking about, apart from taking principal positions of condemnation or appreciation, has avoided talking about beyond our region issues, because we believe that while our forces are adequately equipped to deal with the situation around Pakistan's borders and within the close sphere of our influence or interest, we don't want to poke our nose beyond our own region, that is South Asia and Southwest Asia. But in this case, the Pakistani policy is decisively influenced by what's happening beyond our immediate region. And that is something that is noted by the framers of the press release, and this was debated at the conference as well. So the press release goes something like this. The forum conducted a holistic review of the prevailing internal and external security dynamics And this becomes very important, with particular emphasis on the recent developments in Middle East and Iran. So it's not just Iran-Israel focus, because that would be Iran. It is also what Israel is doing inside the Gaza Strip, and how it has unleashed a completely new force of destruction inside this region. And then the next line is even more important, and a growing propensity for use of force as a preferred policy tool. Now, up till this point, you could say that this is a very important assessment done by a very important regional force led by General Asim Munir. But then it links these developments with implications for Pakistan. I think that's something which makes this press release truly unique and also path-breaking, where Pakistan now understands that the Middle Eastern region and the Gulf region's developments are having direct bearing upon Pakistan's own security. So the next sentence reads like this: use of force as a preferred policy tool, which warrants persistent development of self-reliant capabilities as well as national unity and resolve. So it's almost as if Pakistan sees these beyond our immediate region developments to be developments taking place right in our strategic yard, and is acutely aware of the fact that those developments create a new security imperative for us, which means that we need to be more self-reliant, which means that we need to develop more capabilities, which means that we need to have greater national cohesion and unity and resolve. So generally these statements of intent and promise are reserved for immediate regional threats, like the threat posed by India, like the threat posed by the terrorist bases from Afghanistan. But this time round, while talking about events in the Gulf and in the Middle East, the Pakistani Army highest forum is mentioning effects for its own defense and strategic doctrine, and putting down particular signposts that Pakistan has to cross in order to deal with these developments. So in a way, Middle East is now our strategic imperative as well. Then it again moves towards the Indian machinations and talks about the recent statements that the Indian army heads have made, and makes another very interesting point without naming any other country. And in this, it quotes the Field Marshal himself. Generally, a press release would not have a policy quote from the head of the army. It would like to insist that this is the institutional view, but here the Field Marshal is giving out his view to reinforce the view expressed by the institution. So here is how the quotes go. Invoking third parties in what is unmistakably a bilateral military confrontation reflects a disingenuous attempt at bloc politics aimed at falsely projecting India's self-assigned role as a net security provider to accrue benefits in a region that is visibly growing disillusioned with Indian hegemonic ambitions and Hindutva-driven extremism. So the army's view is that India is invoking the third party, and that third party doesn't happen to be the US. That third party, if it were the US, Pakistan would welcome that, because US is the one that is supposedly holding the ceasefire between the two countries. But here the third party essentially means India's vaulting and overarching ambitions to engage Israel into the equation. Israel is not named, but certainly the word bloc politics leaves nothing to imagination as to which country is being referred to. So here again the Indian-Israeli nexus is being mentioned, directly citing the Field Marshal without naming Israel at all. And then the fifth paragraph is all about what needs to be done, and here are the tasks for Pakistani military setting for itself. Quick adaptation towards evolving threat spectrum and changing character of war. Now you would understand Pakistan's engagement with Uzbekistan, Pakistan's deepening of its traditional historic ties with Turkey, and Pakistan's desire to quickly modify a war preparedness scenario which meets not just the Indian threat, but also the threat that is not really clearly mentioned by name, but is all over the press release if you were to read the fourth paragraph particularly, which is the Israeli-India nexus. And then Pakistan also mentions that India is doubling down on its nefarious agenda. You know, that phrase doubling down essentially means that India is up to no good and it is speeding the process of another confrontation. So therein lies essentially the Pakistan Army's view that Pakistan understands what's happening between India and Israel. Pakistan understands the nexus between India and the internal chaos and terrorism that is expanding. And Pakistan understands very well the need for the country to expand its defense capability, adapt to new scenarios, and confront India's bloc politics by creating some sort of an informal bloc around India itself. That's why Pakistan's engagement with Bangladesh, Pakistan's engagement with Turkey, and Pakistan's forever and deep engagement with China acquires an importance far beyond the stated goals. And this alone makes this press release truly unique and in a way path-breaking, because it gives you deep insights into how the Pakistani army and the Pakistani leadership is assessing Pakistan's current defense and security environment.